So Chainsaw Man, that released. Um, yeah. So I've got some thoughts on it. Some pretty great thoughts. No, to be honest, as you've already read in the title, I don't think the CGI works. Um, a little bit of context on that. I'm a person who I watch shows like SSSS Gridman, Dyna Xenon, as well as even full CG shows like Kengan Ashura. So I have some experience when it comes to CG. I'm not completely against the idea of using CG in anime. I think it has tons of use, and I think it's really important when it is used because it really makes a lot of things easier in the whole design process, and it has value for when it's used. However, I think when it comes to CG, the most important part about it is that you don't notice it exists. The best CG is when you don't realize it's there. That's the best you can get when it comes to CG. Right now, with the technology we have, 2D just objectively will always look better because there's more expression, there's more things you can do with 2D. It's just a matter of being able to draw it. That's why people are always, against CG stuff, is because when it comes to 2D, there's just more you can do. There's more expression. Eventually, I do believe CG will be able to reach that level. I don't think we're there yet, though. And so, what is my point with Chainsaw Man? Why does it work in Gridman and Dyna Xenon, or even full CG shows like Kengan Asura? Why does it work there and not in Chainsaw Man? And for me, it has everything to do with the art direction. In Dyna Xenon and Gridman, both of those shows are pretty much completely CG until you get to the monster fights. In the monster fights, you have a giant robot versus a giant kaiju monster, or whatever you prefer. Those creatures are both completely CG. They're completely created, and they look together. They look like they are a part of the same thing. That's why it works with those shows. Is, like I said earlier, the whole point of CG, the whole, peak you can get with it, is when you forget it's there. You can do that with Dyna Xenon and Gridman because you see giant CG monsters, and so you can kind of suspend your disbelief for a bit, and when it's consistent with each other, it works really well. And that's the problem with Chainsaw Man. It's not consistent. You will have a completely CG human, which that's another worth mentioning too, is that not only does Gridman have giant robots, this one's a human, which a human making anatomy and stuff is a lot more difficult than it is to do like a robot. So not only do you have that, but then he's fighting completely 2D monsters. They're all perfectly drawn. They look awesome. So when you have a really well drawn monster fighting a blocky looking CG guy that's just kind of, not super fluid, especially like when the frame rate doesn't always line up. The frame rate sometimes is like drawn completely differently. It doesn't work because you will look at one creature, so that looks really good, and you immediately have the comparison. The point, as I was saying, is consistency. It's not consistent with each other. And that's the biggest issue, is that when it's not consistent with itself, but it is constantly on the screen, then you're taken out of the experience because you don't have the same thing with each other. With this show, it would have worked better if they committed to all of it being CG, like at least in the fight scenes. Like have the devils be CG as well. Have Power be CG as well, because from what I've seen, Power is 2D too. Have both of them be CG, as well as Chainsaw Denji. That could work because it's more consistent. You can suspend your disbelief for a bit. Sure, I would have been frustrated that there's CG there, but I would have forgotten about it. I would have been okay with it after a while. Or, again, it would have gotten a little bit of frustration, but I think people would have gotten over it after a while. Make the whole show CG. Like Kengan Ashura, it does really well in CG. If you can't do Chainsaw Denji in a CG form, you would have been better off committing, or in 2D form, sorry. You would have been better off committing to the whole show being CG then. But the problem is that they're not committing to anything. They're trying to have all of their eggs in one basket, and it's not working out well for them. They're trying to have really well-drawn 2D CG, and trying to fit the CG in with it, but also they're having a person who's almost completely CG all the time fighting against these 2D creatures, and it just doesn't work. That's the issue I have with it. It's not that the CG is bad. It's not that all CG is not it doesn't belong in anime. It's that it doesn't commit to what it's trying to do. Anyways, that's about everything I have for you guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble. My plan is to hopefully start making more YouTube videos. I know it's been a hot minute. But anyways, I hope you guys have a fantastic evening. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think that the CG works? And if so, why? I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Anyways, thanks again. Bye-bye.